What's going on, my lovely people? Back for another episode of Judgment Free with NB3. I'm your host, Nelson Bernard III. So, for this month of April, it's definitely been a very sentimental month for me for a multitude of reasons. Some of the first is I had a couple of birthdays. My niece Pooh Drew, my niece Ivy, and my mother-in-law, and then of course my youngest daughter Emerson had her 12th birthday. And this date is special for the simple fact that my older sister and my brother-in-law, they celebrated their 12th year anniversary as well. And because I was supposed to walk my sister down the aisle in my uniform, but Emerson was born on the same day, so I didn't get a chance to do that. So, the anniversary, is always, hits different, because it's pretty much in line with how long, Emerson's been alive. So, and again, like I said, like y'all know, it's life is ups and downs, right? And so April is pretty much now officially, it's been 4 years since I've had my daughters or had visitation, spent time with them, hugged them, got a chance to really love on them, right? So it was April of 2022 was, spring break was the last time I had them, right? So that's why April is always like one of those months, with ups and downs, obviously, for the things I mentioned. And then I would say like it's been like 2 years since I've heard their voices, especially Emerson's, because I've heard her voice the least since 2022. So I just pray that, if you're watching, baby, like, I hope you had an awesome birthday. Hope you're thriving. Hope you got everything you wanted. I hope you're happy. Of course, Daddy miss you, and I would love to celebrate with you. I was there in spirit for sure. And yeah, so, it's always, it's never a good feeling, right, to think that you're missing out. But at the same time, I don't want to be somber and like, I genuinely want, her to be happy and just, thriving, regardless of the situation, and so that's what I pray for, at least, right? Because we can only do what we can do and control what we can control at the end of the day. So that was that's I know last year I cried last year, as a matter of fact, for the simple fact, my wife kept asking me, was everything good? You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of like, I guess, brushing it off or avoiding it or whatever. And then I ended up just breaking down later on. It was just like, it just sucks not being able to talk to her and hear her voice, because, she'll definitely ask me, how I'm doing, and, inquire about, me and my well-being. So I know it was definitely rough last year. But I know for this year, though, I guess God was like, hey, I got you, Nelson. Like, I know it's been a ride. I know this has been, full of emotional ups and downs. But so this year, I got like a gift or a treat from God. I don't know, but I can only think that it was a gift for me. So my stepdaughter, Carissa, shout out to Carissa. So she did a praise dance at the church for my sister and my brother-in-law, which is the pastor, anniversary for the anniversary with the praise dance team, and I didn't really know she was gonna do it initially, right? So we got there at the church, and she actually was started out in the middle, or like kind of led it at first, you know. So it was just wonderful seeing that, and it filled my heart up with joy. And I told her it almost made me cry because, you know, as a parent, you want to see your kids participate in stuff, and also stuff that's positive and uplifting, right? Because you're gonna see them go through things and go through stuff and make bad choices, right? But you want to see them thrive, and you want to see them do positive things. And that was that moment. It was like, okay, because like just watching her do that, you know, and it wasn't like forced, or it wasn't like pulling teeth, you know. She did it on her own, and she was excited about it. And just watching her do that, it just filled me up. It got me emotional, and just to think that, you know, I can't, you know, see my biological daughters do stuff, or be participating in stuff. Even though I'm not in Georgia with them, all this technology we have, I can't get any updates. I can't get any pictures, videos, or just in the know of what they're doing, you know. So it had hit me watching her, you know, praise dance and just be involved in it, and she practiced and everything. So it's just like, man, like it just feels good to see your kids do stuff, right? And so I think that was kind of like a gift from God to just kind of like settle and calm my emotional nerves, and you know, and the just anticipation of just, you know, the sadness, and like the, you know, another year. So I really appreciate that. And I told her, I was like, you did a good job. I said, I was like, keep doing stuff like that, because it just filled my heart up. It really did, y'all. Like, I mean, of course she was nervous and everything, but she still killed it though. And yeah, so like I'm seeing the evolution of through my, you know, my stepkids, my grandkids, right? Even my nieces and nephews and everything, right? Because I know the pain that I was in last year, the year before, and I'm starting to see how God is putting different people in my life to kind of just be like, I got you, we got you, you know. Because sometimes I do feel like I be in this fight alone, because, you know, it's my situation, right? It's my kids, my situation, but God got me, man. I can honestly say that, because I looked at myself last year, 2 years ago, in like the depression that I was in, and avoidance and everything, but it's definitely showing itself, like like it really is. Because although I long to, you know, talk to my daughters and be with them, I have come to know and learn that I don't want a transactional relationship with my daughters, or with anybody for that matter, you know. So there are certain things that's happening, or there's coming to my attention, that it's like it's showing me, like, okay, you gotta draw the line in the sand. You know, you're gonna set the tone on this relationship and that relationship, right? So that I'm learning, I guess, one of those hard lessons, because, you know, I'm a true Capricorn, right? I'm about the people. I'm about the people first, Nelton second, right? What does the people want? What does the people need, right? I'm now shifting into like, okay, what does Nelton want? And what does Nelton need? And it's a hard lesson for me because of how my upbringing and just who I am, right? And with that, it's learning I'm learning the true power of no. And what I mean by that is, so, you know, most of y'all probably should know that, you know, I was in the Marine Corps. I retired almost 3 years ago. I did 20 years, from 17 to 37. So in those 20 years, my life wasn't really my life, right? I was, you know, following orders. We're gonna go here, go to this duty station, go to this country, go to this state, do this assignment, right? And it was really non-negotiable. Outside of like, okay, I'm getting out. I'm not doing that, right? Type of thing. But it's really non-negotiable. So that's my formative years. That's pretty much what I came up in, and really didn't have the power of no, or really didn't hold no weight, you know, in the military. And those in the military, you know, those who know. So now I'm in TSU, and I'm getting exposed to different environments and different organizations, and people see me and they see my energy and my charisma and my military background. They want me to do things and be a part of this and be part of that, right? And I got caught up into they want me, so I need to do this because they really want me, and I don't want to let the people down, right? But I'm having these internal battles, right? And this month I was just like, I had to let my classmates know, my professors know, like I need to pump the brakes, because I'm coming from being in the shadows and just doing my thing to now like in the spotlight, and constantly in the spotlight, and that's an adjustment for me, right? At least for me, right? So I don't know about anybody else, but for me it is, because one, I don't even like the attention like that. I don't seek it, So, and I'm not saying it's bad. The attention that I'm getting is just I'm not used to it. I'm used to just being who I am, because that's who I am, and going on with life, right? And not making a big fuss about anything, right? So I just kind of let my classmates know, like, I've been in the military for 20 years, and I'm just now reclaiming my freedom back. I'm just now claiming and adjusting to the civilian life, even though I'm not working, right? But at the same time, I spent most of more than half my life I was in the Marine Corps. I joined at 17 years old. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. So I'm still adjusting to just being around people who, I guess, not used to my energy or my I guess personality, whatnot, because it's like people like flock to me, which I'm used to that, but I'm not used to being called upon to like, hey, so I'm navigating through that, because again, I have to balance between, what the people want and need, and then what I want, because I do care about people's feelings and needs and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, it can't be detrimental to my happiness, to my sanity, right? And that's a hard lesson for me, because again, people pleaser to the core. I walk in the room, I want to make sure everybody's seen and happy and comfortable, right? And that's just what it is. But sometimes you can't care about that type of stuff, right? Because then I become uncomfortable, and I have to live with myself at the end of the day, right? And then I become a hypocrite when it comes to self-care and self-love, right? Then it's like, all right, I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. So I had to take a hard look at myself and kind of and go with this Innerstanding, right? That's the title of this episode, Innerstanding, because I had to understand what I want, why I want it, and it's okay if it doesn't jive with everybody else or whoever else around me, because in my mind, in my world, the word no was like an atomic bomb for me, right? It was like, okay, if I'm able to do it and I say no, what they gonna think, what they gonna feel? I'm letting people down, like, I want them to be disappointed, and I thought about that more than, okay, but if I do this, how am I gonna feel about this, or what it's gonna do for me, or what is gonna, what are the consequences or repercussions for me by doing this, right, or whatever. So but I know I can say my wife, Robin, man, she I've taken a page out of her book, because she ain't no problem saying no. And what I've learned is that you can say no and it won't be the end of the world. See, I used to think it'd be the end of the world. Like, oh man, like, all right, well, Nelson's done. He said no. You know what I'm saying? Like, but no, it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's more of a self-preservation type thing, right? Like, nah, I'm cool. Nah, they don't mesh or work with my schedule. I'll try to make it fit, or I'll try to make it work, just to bend over backwards and do whatever, right? And it's like, no, it ain't gonna work out this time. It's okay. And I'm just like, hey, you just do that so, like, you just so calm with that, But I watch her, and I was just like, you know what? I gotta start telling my classmates, my professors, or my loved ones, like, nah, like, I don't want to do that. Or these are my reasons. Or, I mean, even if I don't have to explain, but just, let's be okay saying, nah, I'm cool. Nah, I'm okay. Because I really struggle with that, and my wife has really has helped me through this journey, right? Now, we're about to be, married 7 years come July. Like, we're really emerging into this best friend phase, right? Where we can really sit down and just disclose and talk to each other, without the judgment, and actually just hear each other and bounce off, be a sounding board. So we really getting into like the nitty gritty of like being each other's best friend, like for real, right? I know most people, talk about the 7-year itch, thing. So, but of course we have our rough patch and everything, but we are definitely emerging into like the best friend. Like I could honestly say I married my best friend, and she can say the same as well. So that is a good experience and a good feeling to know as we navigate through this life, because like she teases me a lot, y'all, because like like really in this civilian life, I'm a baby because like the Marine Corps stunted my growth as far as like the shelter and being in a bubble, right? She laughs at me all the time. I think about how the world should work, or how I think it is going to work for me as I retire in this world, and she's be shaking her head like, Nelson, like, So like she's really teaching me and showing me like how life really go out here, because because man, I'm telling y'all, like, being in the military, it's a bubble. It really is. A lot of things you don't have to worry about, or you don't even think about, because it's taken care of for you, or it's modified to the fact that it's like you don't really think about it. It makes it look easier than what it is. But you guys in this real world and dealing with real people and these real organizations and like that, it's not structured like you think it would be because of the military. And not saying the military is perfect, but it does run off a structure. Like, that's how it survives, off structure, right? It cannot be in chaos, right? Because we fight wars and we got to be strategic about stuff like that. So I am used to that. And plus, I like systems. I don't like chaos, right? I can't stand this organization, right? So coming out to the real world, I'm starting to understand now, almost 3 years in retirement, what military veterans struggle with civilians and civilian organizations, right? Because yeah, you might have an opinion or you might have a right, but like, it's like, okay, we got to get it done. Okay. Like, it has to get done. Like, now we can talk about this stuff later, like, boom, so I run off of that, and it's like, oh, so everybody don't run like that? Everybody don't operate like that? She's like, no, baby, no. Like, no. Or even stuff like people not enjoying their profession, right? I think, people join the military for various reasons, right? A lot of people are like, oh man, I can't wait to get out, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, okay, well, military, you sign a contract, so you got to do a certain amount of time, and then you can, go separate ways. But out here, it's like, okay, you're choosing to do certain professions, and you don't like what you do, like, so I can't wrap my mind around it, And my wife just be laughing at me, man. I just be like, why would people do this stuff and they don't want to do it? Because even with the military, right, the goal is to, get the retirement benefits and everything. So it's like an end goal at the end of the day, regardless of what you like or don't like, right? In some of these professions, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily, those benefits per se, but, you get something out of it, at least I would think. But yeah, it's yeah, but I'm learning, y'all. I'm still learning in this world, and it's just funny because she'd be just shaking her head and nah, babe, it don't work like that. So I'm constantly getting my bubble popped, right? But again, I love that she does that because she brings me back down to earth. After being in the military for so long at such a young age too. So, but yeah, just saying no is definitely one of my new superpowers now, and not feeling the ways about it though. Not feeling the ways about it. So, yeah, I'm joining the party late, but hey, and they say better late than never, right? So, but yeah, so that's been something I've been struggling with, but like I said, I'm working through. I'm working through it. So yeah. So then, and again, like with my charisma, personality, and everything, right? I had the honor to do the icebreaker portion for our TSU Counseling Association mixer that we have every semester, right? So I did the icebreaker, right? So of course I get up there with my energy, introduce myself, gave an example of a brief introduction of what I wanted to look like, and I had all the students that attended, stand up and give that brief introduction. And then the icebreaker, I did 5 questions of would you rather, and I believe one of a couple of them was would you rather be deaf or mute? Would you rather be a world with no crime or a world with no privacy? Another one was would you rather be a star player on a losing team or a bench warmer on a championship team? And another one was I can't. What was the other ones? It was two more. But it was interesting because it was thought provoking, and a lot of people was kind of like, oh, yo, some good questions. That could be something good for group session, group therapy, right? So I never thought about stuff like that or asking questions like that. So me and my brain, I was just being Nelson. You know what I'm saying? Just I love the ice break. I love to get people talking and thinking and thought provoking. So I didn't even think even about a group session or group therapy or whatnot. So one of the students and one of the professors pointed out that could be some good stuff for group counseling, group therapy and whatnot. Which I would think that I would like group therapy because in the Marine Corps I would get the small groups of Marines or whatnot and bring them in and do stuff like that. And so it had dawned on me. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I've been doing stuff like this in a sense. It comes natural to me though. So I get up there and get to show my personality, get to show my talents and my gifts and stuff like that, right? So and then I got to sit back down, right? So that's my thing, right? I don't necessarily have to be the front man, but I got up there and did my thing, and then I faded back to black, But I'm a very observant person because I get up there with all the energy, but then once I'm off and I sit back down, I'm back in the observation mode. So people was like, I guess they were a little concerned. They were like, Nelson, you good? You know what I'm saying? You look tired. I was like, no. I said, I'm in observation mode. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, military, right? Be aware of your surroundings. So, and it's funny that how, in the military, that's what we do, observe and everything. So being in the civilian world, that's almost like a foreign concept to most people because they're not really paying attention to their surroundings, who they're around, what's being said, what's being done, right? Because we have these phones too that keeps us looking down and distracted. I see so many people walking with their head down. That's crazy to me. Walking on the street, public road, busy road with their head down on their phones, right? So my favorite pastime is people watching. So, but it's funny that people saw that something may have been wrong with me because I was sitting back and observing, just and not saying anything, not interjecting, So that I guess that scares people. I don't know, but it was crazy because I was like, yeah, I mean, I got the personality. I can be, the life of the party, but at the same time, I can, get back to, just all right, observe and let everybody else do their thing, you know. And it was interesting. That was an interesting experience doing that mixer, right? So I'm getting more involved, of course, with my organizations, you know, and for me, it's just more about the level of involvement is what I'm battling with, right? Because I want to be involved, but I don't want to be involved too much, but not too little, right? So I'm trying to find my happy medium without anybody interjecting or influencing me, and so that's my internal battle, right? So again, I'm always doing this daily work. I told y'all this ain't no days off. I'm not the type of person because I have a lot of free time, I fill my time up with stuff. Nope, because I'm using that time to work on myself, right? So when situations arise, I can be poised, you know, I can respond and not react, right? So it's a method to my madness, you know, but it's just funny people being around me and they're kind of like trying to figure me out, you know, and it's funny because I've been getting it all my life, but it's even more intriguing now that I'm out of the military and back around civilians, like for real civilians, like, and some people who never served at all. So it's like, yeah, they start to pick up and notice things, and I guess it intrigues them. But but I mean, it's I'm having a good time still in TSU. I just completed my first year, about to be done in about a couple more days for this semester. So it's been a blast. I love it. I love it. My highlight for this semester was the genogram. So in my family therapy class, we had to do genograms and with a narrative. So I highly and thoroughly enjoyed that because, you know, I got a chance to see my classmates get up there and be vulnerable, you know, shed some tears and talk about stuff they probably never talked about before openly out loud, right? And, you know, shout out to all my classmates, right? Because I know that wasn't easy to get up there and talk about, you know, deep rooted stuff, but I love that for y'all because it's for the fact that we are going to evolve from this and analyze our lives a little deeper, a little harder, right? So shout out because it was very, very compelling. It was very moving. And I love to see people being vulnerable in a safe space because that's how you really going to grow holistically, honestly. Because we, as humans, we hold so much back, we hold so much in because of fear of, you know, whatever, right? Not being a safe space, judgment or whatever, guilt, shame. And that's how people lead to other alternative methods of coping, right? So I've always been an advocate of telling your story. And that's what I come to school for, honestly, you know, especially in this profession. So shouts out to my classmates. Y'all did a wonderful job. And I'm happy for y'all to get a chance to release that, you know, and maybe it's the beginning of something different, right? Something else for you. But I just wanted to say that because this experience at TSU has been amazing. Ups and downs, but you know that comes with any and everything in life. So ain't nothing perfect. Ain't nothing perfect. So I'm definitely loving what I'm seeing and what I'm getting from this experience for sure. And then of course, you know, talking about the military, of course, you know, this past month, this is my third time going to the annual pool function where all the recruiters get together and have all their applicants and poolees do like a, you know, field day competition, right? So I was out there, and the reason I go out there, not necessarily for the poolees, is mainly for the recruiters and the staff, right? Because I've been there, done that, so I understand that life. So this is more of a sounding board, give advice. They can see somebody on the other side, like, oh, you retired, you know, and I look young too, so it really be throwing them off because like I look younger than some of the Marines that's in the Marine Corps now, you know, that are way younger than me, right? So, but I keep that connection with the Marine Corps for the simple fact that I'm in Houston. It's a big military city and state, right? So I keep my roots with the Marines for that reason, right? Because they stay in the know, because people still reach out to me about joining and stuff like that because they knew I was a recruiter and they knew I served or whatnot. So I try to stay connected, and that's one of the ways I do that. Is go to those functions every year and just see the new fresh blood and see who, you know, the future, and and just mentor the recruiters, and words of encouragement, advice, or just a sounding board, or they can just vent, because I've been there, done that. So it was definitely a good experience. Of course, I meet somebody new every year. You know me, my friends laugh at me because I always say, like, if we say hello or we have a small conversation, I'm gonna need your DNA. I'm gonna need, what I'm saying, like we exchanging social media, something like that, because I move fast with people because I have a discernment, and I feel as though, like, okay, we connected, we was here in this same exact spot for a reason. So so I go with it, So, but I have my friends cracking up because I don't waste no time with that, So I constantly meet people every day, and then I constantly will send out my YouTube channel as soon as I meet them, send them the link at least, right? Just say they know about it, right? And and I kind of wipe my hands with it, right? I'm not gonna chase anybody down. I'm not gonna chase ambulances, right? But I will let you know what I'm about, and if it's something that you think that you can utilize or you can benefit from, then cool. And if not, cool, right? But I've learned to just be confident in myself and what I offer and what I'm capable of, and let that be that. So, and that's why, for the most part, even in the Marine Corps, and even now, I put more time and effort into my inner self versus my outer appearance. My wife kind of be scratching her head sometimes, because I don't really be caring like what it looks like. I care about what it is. And I know it can be off-putting for some people because appearance is important, right? But it shouldn't be the end all be all, right? So that's why I'm at with it when it comes to people, when it comes to discernment, when it comes to, how I portray myself, how I carry myself, right? So, but I am cleaning up a little bit more, with, grooming and stuff like that, and clothes. But overall, I care about your character and what you about. Yeah, you could be nice suit, nice dress, and polish and everything, but that don't mean too much of nothing for me, at least. So, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, like I say, interesting month of April, ups and downs. But again, I'm still standing. But I just want to let y'all know, what it really is, and that I'm not perfect, and I still go through things, and I think I really have to emphasize it because of my personality and how I carry myself, right? And I have all this positive energy and light and everything, right? But I still feel pain. I still hurt inside, right? So I think I have to extra emphasize, because as I show up as me everywhere I go. But at the same time, I still hurt. And it's and like, again, I do these videos for my therapy, for my sanity, right? Because I get asked the question, how are you, or how are things with the kids, or how are things with this and this and so, school. So I do this and put it out there, so I at least released it. At the end of the day, it's out, and I'm not holding it in. So I had a real big issue with that before. So I'm growing and learning from my mistakes and just the pains, the growing pains, right? So and I'm starting to apply the things that I've learned, so I won't feel those pains either as much or any more, right? Because we're still human. We on this earth. So, but yeah, so I appreciate all the support from my classmates, family, friends, professors. Like, I love each and every one of y'all for real, because y'all definitely helped me, whether y'all know it or not. When I see y'all, I light up. Hopefully y'all light up, and like, just that interaction that I can have with y'all does something for me, because I know what I really want is to be with my daughters and have interactions with them the way I have interactions with everybody else, right? So y'all don't understand like what that does for me. So I try to convey it as best I can, but I'm a real reserved person for the most part, right? Until that right person comes with their right question, and then all bets are off. Then I'm an open book, right? But again, it all comes down to the right person asking the right question. So, That's why I love people's stories. That's why I love to hear people's, you know, triumph, tragedies, story, like all of that, rags to riches. I love to hear all that stuff, because that, like Kanye said, everything I'm not, maybe everything I am. And that I mean, pretty much that's just right there, because you're a certain way because of X, Y, Z. And it's even better if you know what that X, Y, Z is, right? Because some people going around like, I don't know why I'm like this, right? But let's go back to the genograms, right? You can kind of map out, oh, I got this from that. Oh, I got this from that person. Oh, okay, I can see the pattern, right? That's why those things are important, right? So it's one thing for somebody to tell their story, but it's another thing for people to actually know the origin of their story, right? And that's what I strive, and that's what I look for, and that's what I love to be involved in with other people, is telling them origin stories. And you know, so shout out to everybody that I've came across that confided or opened up to me, or and actually listened to me talk and tell about my story and you know, in my background. So I love that exchange of information with humans. I wake up for that. I go to school for that. Like, so yeah. Yeah. So, but as you see, like I take on this emotional roller coaster, like, you know, it was definitely down, depressing at some point, but then it got lifted back up through other events and everything, right? So I got to give y'all the full gambit of how life really goes, at least for Nelson Bernard III. You know, and I'm going to tell y'all what I know and what I actually been through. So, and that's all I can do. So hopefully y'all, this message finds y'all well. This the video finds y'all well, and hopefully y'all out there subscribing and liking and commenting, you know, all that good stuff, sharing, you know, it really to help other people, right? It really not to help me, because I'm doing this and it's out there. So I'm being helped by just doing this video, but you know, pushing it out there for it to get into other people's algorithm or whatever, right? That's much appreciated. That really is. So, but yeah, you already know what it is. You know, before I get up out of here, I got to get my promotions in. You know, intellectual power, yes sir. Intellectualpower.net. It's my supplement of choice. I've taken a lot of supplements over my lifetime. I think I've settled with this one. So. But yeah, give it a shot, and you know, check the reviews and see, you know, ingredients and all that good stuff. You know, who knows? Again, everybody's different though. Class Bookstore. Yep, that's the book I'm still working on that I bought from Class Bookstore, right? You know, but yeah, and I got the T-shirt as well too. I love all black women. So yeah, about that. So yeah, get at them. They got online too if you want to, you know, purchase online. If you can't make it to Third Ward in Houston, Texas, they got online. So like I said, QR code. They got social media. So just get it. Of course, my big bro Zoe Williams and MrZoeWhat.com. He got a new book coming out. All right, so check that link out as well. He's keeping it under wraps as far as, like, you know, the title and everything, but this one is available though. You know, gotta get that self-work. That's all I do. That's my job. Matter of fact, people ask me what I do. What you do for a living? Self-work. All right, it's not even a flex. That's just real talk though, okay? Because everything I do reflects self-work. So, and then my big sis, Zaza Ali. Keys of Womanhood. And she has another, Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance. ZazaAli.com. Again, self-work. That's all I really deal in, you know? So yeah, just hopefully, you know, these black-owned businesses. So check them out, support where you can. And I'm finna sign out. And like I said, summer, here we come. I'm not taking classes over the summer. I'll be getting it back going fall. So I'm gonna enjoy this summer break, and yeah, but I'm always gonna love y'all for free. Y'all already know what it is, okay? But just remember, I can help you, but I can't save you. And I'm not even gonna try, but I will help the best of my ability. I love y'all. And until next time, all right, peace.